Okay, so here's another example of analyzing units. Geronimo and 3 friends regularly drive 208 miles. Their car gets 35 miles per gallon. Gas costs $1.599 per gallon, and they drive at an average speed of 50 miles per hour. Before I even start out by talking about part A and B, I'm just going to write down what I know. So we are going to drive 208 miles. Okay, my first ratio is the car gets 35 miles per gallon. So that's one ratio. Our cost is $1.599 for each gallon. And we are averaging 50 miles per hour. Okay, so the question is, part A. They want to basically know the number of gallons that are used. Okay, so I have this starting point. I'm going to start with the number of miles because we have to figure out how many miles we've gone. And I just want to get to gallons. So do I have a relationship with miles and gallons? I do. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with my 208 miles, because that's how far I drove. Put it over 1. And I'm going to use the ratio over here that relates miles and gallons. And I'm going to have to flip it because I want gallons on the top. So I have 1 gallon on the top and 35 miles on the bottom. The reason I did that was because I want the miles to cancel out. So now I just take 208 divided by 35 and I get 5.94 gallons. So it's going to take them 5.94 gallons to make this trip. Alright, so let's get rid of my little star. Let's look at part B. The number of hours the trip took. Okay, so the number of hours the trip took. Well, I'm going to start with the number of miles, and I want to get to hours. So I know I have the number of miles, so that's 208 miles. Put over 1. Okay, do I have a relationship between miles and hours? I do. It's my third one right here. And so I gotta flip it around. So 1 hour goes on top, 50 miles on the bottom. I flipped it so that the miles cancel out. So now I take 208 divided by 50 and I get 4.16 hours. Okay. Alright, let's move down to part C and D. It says the average number of feet per second. So let's bring all my information back over here. Here's my information. And let's cancel out. So this time I have the average number of feet per second. So basically I'm looking for average speed of feet per second. So I do have an average speed. So my original average speed, and I want to get to simply feet per second. And so it's telling us that we have an average speed right here of 50 miles per hour. So we're going to start with 50 miles per hour. Now, I need to get to feet and seconds. So we ask ourselves, what do we want to take care of first? Do we want to take care of feet first, or do we want to take care of seconds first? I'm just going to pick feet, okay? So I'm going to write down some other stuff. I know that there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. The reason I want to use that is because I want to change that miles to feet. So that's the first thing I'm going to write down here. I'm going to say, hey, there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So now I can see that the miles cancel out. Actually, I'll make it red. So I'm okay with the feet. Done. Now let's worry about those seconds. All right. I'm at hours right now. And I know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. But I also know that there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to change hours to minutes first. So I know in 1 hour there's 60 minutes. Okay, so that takes care of the hours. We need to get to seconds. So we'll make this something like that. I know that in 1 minute there's 60 seconds. And I can see that the minutes are taken care of. And now the seconds are on the bottom. So I'm good to go. And so then when I multiply all this out, I take 50 times 5,280. I divide it by 60. And I divide it by 60 again. And I get 73.3 feet per second. I'm just going to write it like this because I ran out of room. And that's what they wanted. Okay? So that one took a little bit more. Sometimes you have to write down some other information, some other ratios that you might know, more than just what is given. Okay, let's look at part D. It's got a little bit more to it. So let's go like this. They want to know what's the cost per passenger mile in cents. So we need to figure out passenger miles first. So passenger miles. Well, in the story it was Geronimo and 3 friends. So there's 4 passengers and they're going to go 208 miles. And so that gives us 832 passenger miles. Okay, so we want the cost in passenger miles. And so let's first start out. So what we want to end up with is we want the cost on the top. We want passenger miles on the bottom. And so basically what we have to do is we have to start all the way from the beginning. We're going to start out with the number of miles that they travel. Okay, we need to get to cost. And so the only thing that gets us to cost over here is cost over gallons. So we need to get to gallons first. Then we'll get to cost. And then we can get to our cost per passenger miles. Alright, so that's kind of a roadmap. So let's start out with our miles, and we're starting out with 208 miles over 1. Okay, we've got these miles per gallon up here. 35 miles for 1 gallon. Okay. Then we have this cost over here, which is, and I'm going to do some erasing so I can see some stuff. And I'll actually draw a line right there. Okay, so we've got this, the miles cancel. I need the gallons to cancel, so I'm going to put 1 gallon on the bottom. And my cost is 1.599. So now we've got this cost on the top, and then we're just going to put the passenger miles on the bottom. So basically what we do is we write a fraction with 1 over 832 passenger miles. And that will end up being all the fractions we multiply together. And after we multiply the top and the bottom, divide, we end up with 0.0114 over 1 passenger mile. Alright, so that was a little bit more complicated, but that is how you would work through those, one step at a time. Okay, I'll have one more example for you in a little bit.